What's up, everybody? This is OLB, One Lucky Bullet, here with a review of Immortal Unchained. And this may sound like a polarizing review to some of my friends, because when I first got this game, I was actually digging it at first. I was really liking it. I was like, "Oh man, this is pretty cool." You know, this is Dark Souls with guns. And I kept playing it, and I kept going through it and getting further and further in, and I started to realize how basically crappy this game is for $49.99. This game literally takes everything from Dark Souls, everything, the pieced together kind of piecemeal story, the controls, the bonfires, the souls, everything, throws them into this kind of futuristic game with guns tacked on, and none of it works very well. So as you're watching, I mean, you'll see the first time I encountered the first boss, I literally got my ass beat because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Kind of just stumbled into it. And then you'll see the second time I fought him, didn't really have any issues. And that's one of the biggest problems with the game, is the enemies either A, at times are just stupid and will just stand there and let you shoot them, or two, they become insanely smart and brilliant and will just mob you. And you have such limited ammo, even though the game relies heavily on guns. The gun damage output that you can do to the enemies versus what they can do to you is such a huge gap in difference. The controls at the start work pretty decent, but then the more you play and the more frantic it gets, the more you realize they're broken. Everything requires stamina, from using your guns to rolling to running to anything. And yeah, that's like Souls, or Bloodborne. It requires stamina, but it's more well refined in those games. Versus this is, I would attribute this to more like a poorer version of a Lords of the Fallen style kind of game. And I liked Lords of the Fallen. It was okay for what it was, but it was clunky. It was janky at times. This game is worse. The graphics at the start were like, oh, these aren't bad, and then the more you go through it, the worse they look at times, with pop-ins like crazy, boundaries that sometimes don't even exist. Sometimes you'll fall through the map, sometimes you'll stop, you'll let go of the controller, but your guy keeps running, runs right into the water, you'll die instantly. You'll fall off a cliff. Like a 5-foot drop off a cliff will kill you for some weird reason. I don't understand why. But then the next minute I'll roll off a 10-foot cliff and take 0 damage. I do like the unlocks for the weapons. Like, as you're using them, and the more you're using them, you unlock different versions of them. That's cool. But then that also brings the other problem, where I'm having to pump stat points into things that you normally would not use, just to use a gun. For some reason, I can use assault rifles and submachine guns and all these other types of weapons that don't hardly require any strength. But if I go to use a shotgun, a simple one-shot shotgun, I have to have an asinine amount of strength pumped into it, which is weird if you're not focusing on that build. Now, granted, it is pretty cool that you can carry 4 weapons at a time. That's cool. And then you have your melee weapon, which, I'll be honest with you, the melee in this game is completely ass. It is broken beyond belief. You hit the enemy, barely does any damage. Even if and I pumped a lot into my strength for melee, doesn't hardly do any damage. They hit you, holy crap, it hurts. Even the most basic enemies can literally kill you in 1 or 2 shots, which is just weird, because yeah, in Dark Souls and Bloodborne it's like at the start. But when you go back to those earlier areas that you've already been through and you're freaking pumped up, you're usually, you can still get killed by them, but it's not going to be within 1 or 2 hits. It's just weird. It's so disjointed the way they've done it. I've had to run around in the second world so many times just harvesting souls, because that's just what we're going to call them. They're called bits in this game or whatever. I'm calling them souls. The little bonfire things are called something else. They're bonfires. That's what we're calling it. It's just not worth the $50. It's got a lot of problems with it. The saturation of gray in this game, and the color gray, is just enormous. Like, everything is just so bland. You have huge amount of pop-ins in this game. The first level seemed like the most polished level, but as you get further in, it is a huge amount of pop-ins just with textures loading. Enemies will spawn or load in with like 3 feet in front of you. They will just pop right in there. You'll turn around, there's nothing there, and then you'll turn around again, and like a column will appear, and it's just this. It's weird. Like, it's just poor optimization all around. It literally makes no sense. It's so disjointed. And then the second half of the game, either you're going to be lucky that the game works for you, or you're not going to be lucky and the game is going to crash every time you reach a certain point. And you'll just get a black screen, or you'll fall through the map, and that's it. There's nothing you can do to fix it, and short of them patching the game. And that's a real bummer, because this game came out a while ago on the PC, and if I remember right, I believe it was in early access for a while before they finally released it, or maybe it was just fully released on the PC and before they ported it to consoles. But you would think that they've had enough time to Q&A test this thing to make sure that it works properly, but they didn't. And you can tell that it was just thrown out here. And then you have literally a freaking day one DLC for it for a couple crappy ass weapons for $4 or $5. Like, why didn't you just throw that in the game? Like, I don't even understand why you charged $50 for this game when it's worth no more than $30. And then you actually had the nerve to throw out a $5 DLC pack along with it. And the shitty thing about this game launched the same day as the Spider-Man game. So some people may not have wanted Spider-Man. They were looking for something else. They grabbed this. They didn't know what they were getting, and here it is. And unfortunately, that's the reality. I like the game at the start. I'm not gonna argue that point. Like, it's very well done at the beginning of it, but then once you start fighting the bosses and you start figuring things out, every boss has like 3 patterns. All you gotta do is memorize the patterns. The final boss you can kill with a launcher. If you have a grenade launcher as your primary and assault weapon, you can stand across the map from him and shoot him and kill him within 15 seconds, and that's it. And there's other bosses in the game just like that. You can stand up on a ledge and just shoot down on top of them, and they can't hit you, they can't hurt you, nothing. So I don't understand where the play testing was or the balancing with this game, but I would wholeheartedly say do not purchase this game. Wait for it to go on sale for $20 or something like that. No more than 30. I wouldn't pay no more than 30 for this. Maybe they'll patch it, maybe they won't, but you're not missing a whole lot by passing on this game. So 5 out of 10. I think I'm being generous with that. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.